chapter 515 is a chapter that even fairy tale detractors would sit there and say that this is probably one of the best fairy tale chapters that we've gotten in a very, very, very long time. And this is actually 2 weeks in a row where Hiro Mashima has managed to deliver something that arguably is no worse than an 8, but personally I put this chapter at a 10, and it's because we see the fall of Irene, and that's the highlight for this chapter. The beautiful thing about what Hiro Mashima did in this is we are seeing Irene go from a very protective and loving mother, someone who was forced into a marriage for political reasons, which hints that there isn't actually love in the relationship, to having to protect her unborn daughter from her own father because her father refers to Erza as a monster, and he even goes as far as to tell Irene, hey, you're starting to turn into a dragon like Agnologia. And there's this one part where Irene, she can't even taste the food that she's eating, and you can see her starting to freak out, and her way of protecting Erza is keeping Erza inside of her womb for 3 years. So Erza has been developing for 3 years, absorbing Irene's magic energy and absorbing some of that Dragon Slayer magic that Irene had, which would explain why Erza is so overpowered in the series. But the other thing is it makes you feel for Irene, because what you are seeing is a mother who is defying her motherly instinct in order to protect her daughter. And it makes sense for why she's so cold-hearted and calculated, and it makes sense for why she ended up going with Zeref, because Zeref approached her literally when she was at her weakest point, and Zeref ends up saying, hey, I can turn you back into a full-blown human. And that's one of the things that we see with Irene when we see the fall of her character, her fall from grace. So that was very beautiful to see that. And there's this one moment where Erza says, I thank you, because if you didn't do that, I wouldn't be able to meet my real family. And I thought that that was something done very intentionally by Hiro Mashima, because what we are seeing is Hiro Mashima is showing that Erza is doubling down on the fact that fairy tales are family. So yes, that is cliche, but what we're also seeing is Hiro is setting up for a potential redemption of Irene. And I've been looking at some of the other people who review fairy tale, and this is something I have not seen too many people touch on. I really feel like Hiro is setting up for Irene to be redeemed, because there's no reason to introduce a backstory for Irene this emotional, this connected to Erza, and then coming right off the heels of what we've seen with Lucy's family being connected to Natsu and other Dragon Slayers, the fact that Silva gave Gray his Demon Slayer, Ice Demon Slayer magic, and Ignil gave Natsu his flame. So seeing how there's a theme with parents, and then a few chapters ago we see Natsu with his family, I mean, that's very interesting, and it just feels like Hiro is setting up for Erza to be the one who redeems Irene. Obviously, their fight is going to be something that is going to be absolutely crazy, especially now that we know that Erza might have hidden power inside of her. I've already done a video on whether or not she'll have Dragon Slayer magic, but just knowing that all of this is being set up and Hiro is starting to tie up together those loose ends, while also further building the stage for the inevitable fight between Agnologia and Fairy Tail and Zeref. This is really good, because what we're seeing is the fact that Erza, when she takes down Irene, she could potentially have Irene as an ally in that fight. But the other thing that we could see is the fact that Irene could end up awakening some power in Erza, or passing something down, because Erza's magic is very similar to Irene's magic, which would then set us up for the big three-way battle, and you would have children of the last era. You would have Natsu with Ignil, you'd have Gray with Silva, you would potentially have Lucy with Layla, because Layla was a powerful celestial spirit, spirit wizard, and then you would have Erza being the daughter of Irene. So we really could see Fairy Tail as the younger generation taking another step forward. So overall, Hiro did a lot as far as planting seeds for stuff, as well as going for the heartstrings. One scene in particular that really got me was the fact that Irene was being tortured that long by her husband. That was very cruel, and that's something that I can't wait to see how Hiro decides to flesh that out further going on. He's definitely raised the stakes for the Irene and Erza battle. I know some of you guys probably have not seen the chapter yet. I had to read the raw scans, so that was something there that kind of got me, and then to read the translations. But let me know what you guys think, guys. Have an awesome day.